Top 10 people you won't believe actually exist. Humans are an incredible species that continues to evolve and change. We are one of the only species on the planet that continue to evolve at a visible pace. We are also one of the only species that can physically alter their own bodies, and also have the most extraordinary defects. Many people are born with unique skills or a unique physical form, and there are others that manipulate their bodies to become unique. Others still have things like transplants or plastic surgery. Honestly, there's just a lot of amazing things the human body is capable of doing. With all that said and done, here are the top 10 people you won't believe actually exist who stand out amongst the crowd. Before that, though, I'd really appreciate it if you take a look at that subscribe button and maybe hit it for us. If you hit that button, then you get every single video that we ever produce, and honestly, we have a lot of interesting videos, and you might even enjoy them. Number 10. The woman with the world's smallest waist. Tell me something, have you ever wanted a smaller waist? I mean, how about just a few inches off the sides? Well, this amazing woman by the name of Michelle Cope is a Guinness World Record holder for the world's current smallest female waist. The 26-year-old German woman proudly claims a 16-inch waist. Michelle was able to bring her waist size from 25 inches to 16 inches over the span of a few years. She achieved this by constantly wearing a binding waist corset that was slowly taken in over time. Though the waist is definitely something to be envious about, she has had some serious medical issues due to her life-changing venture. She can no longer walk or move without wearing the corset due to muscle atrophy in her back muscles, and even with this news, Michelle is adamant about continuing to shrink her waist to 14 inches.
Erstmal atmen oder sonst irgendetwas, aber es ist halt normal und ja, es sind halt nur positive Kommentare grundsätzlich.
Number 9. The man who never bathes. We all know someone or have met someone who isn't into personal hygiene routines. Either they don't shower often or they just don't wash themselves that well. Amu Haji from Iran took a lack of personal hygiene to a whole new level. He hasn't bathed in 60 years. Yeah, that's right, 60 years. Just imagine that for a second. Amu is a lonely nomad that travels the cities and deserts smoking animal fecal matter. Decades upon decades of mud, animal feces, dirt, and numerous other things coat his face and tattered clothes. Many people refer to him as the man who never bathes, the orc who never bathes, and the living orc. Years of wear and tear weigh on his face, and he is on a constant move from place to place. Despite the lack of hygiene, he is said to be lively and happy, and claims to have found the key to life. So if you want to figure out life, just don't shower for 60 years, or perhaps just talk to Amu. Either way, keep yourself away from me, please, if you decide to do that. Number 8. Stig Steverson. How long can you hold your breath for? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Everyone played that game in the pool where you and your friends go under the water and see who can hold their breath the longest. We all cheated and went back down to make sure our friends didn't see. Don't lie, you know you did it as well. It was an innocent game though, something fun just to pass the time. Stig Stevenson would have been the one friend who always won though. Stig Stevenson was awarded the Guinness World Record for the longest held breath voluntarily by a male. He lasted a total of 22 minutes in 30 degrees Celsius water. Stig is said to have practiced the challenge by starting in increments of 5 minutes and always working his way up. He also did go on record and stated that he had never reached the full 22 minutes while he practiced, but found the inner strength to keep going during the actual challenge. Stevenson has his own breathing practice that he used to train for the record holding breath. He also trains others with this same practice for health purposes as well as for academic and athletic purposes. He says it's a way of life. If you ever want to get really good at that breath-holding game or want to be trained to be a deep-sea diver or train for any other athletic purpose, you can always fly over to Germany and begin your breathing training. Number 7. The half-headed man. Have you ever had a moment where you thought to yourself, where did the other half of my brain go? No? Well, Carlos Rodriguez sure did. Carlos is affectionately known as the man with half a brain. Cue the Wizard of Oz music where the scarecrow sings about having a brain. I'm waiting, editor. He is also known as Half Skull. After a brutal car accident, Carlos was left with a major skull fracture and severe bleeding in the brain. Surgeons had no other option than to remove part of his skull and brain matter. This was done to allow for sufficient swelling so that the brain could begin to heal itself again. The most extraordinary thing is that he has complete normal function of his body. Though the accident left him with an indent in his brain, there was no other harm done, mentally or physically. Carlos was first discovered when he was arrested for high-speed driving, and yes, even after his incident and due to his refusal to give a name, the police wrote down Halfhead. Take it from Carlos, if you want to keep your brain, wear a seatbelt and stay in your lane. Number 6. The man with the upside-down head. There are days where your world is turned upside down. Either you're having a bad day, got some bad news, or you haven't had your morning coffee yet. For Claudio Alvaria, the world is turned upside down every day from the moment he wakes up. Claudio was born with his head placed upside down on his skull, a genetic mystery that continues to baffle doctors and scientists. Despite Claudio's unique appearance and circumstances, the 38-year-old thrives in life as a motivational speaker. He shares the story of how his parents were told to stop feeding him and abandon him since the doctors believed he wouldn't survive. Carlos travels the world sharing his unique upside-down perspective of the world. He continues to inspire those to change and develop their skills and to turn their world upside down to see a new perspective on life. Number 5. The Indian boy with gigantic hands. Tell me something, have you ever compared hand sizes with a friend? Or perhaps you were just noticing the fact that your hands look quite small or quite big? Well, your hands will never feel any smaller when compared to our next extraordinary person. 8-year-old Kaleem from India has some of the largest hands on the planet. Kaleem was born with hands twice the size of a normal newborn, and they have never stopped growing. His hands weigh a total of 28 pounds and are 13 inches each from palm to fingertips. Due to the poverty that has stuck his nation and family, he has been unable to seek treatment for years. His parents and community have begun to raise funds and have found a treatment facility that says they can cure his large hands with an effective treatment plan. And I hope it really comes to that, my friend. Number 4. The man who permanently raised his hand. Yeah, have you ever seen someone raise their hand? Perhaps it was in class, maybe during a discussion or something along those lines. Maybe they were raising their hands in a spiritual gesture to praise to their god. That is exactly what Sadhu Amar Bharati did in 1973 when he raised his right arm in order to honor the Hindu god Shiva. In an act of spiritual exuberance, Bharati decided to never put his arm back down and to forever praise Shiva. For 45 years he has kept his arm up. Bharati's faithful followers have done the same, many of whom have kept their arms up for decades. Though the act is a spiritual one, the physical toll on Bharati and his followers' bodies have been immense. Their muscles in their arms have atrophied and their joints have locked and become stiff as bone. The blood flow to the fingers and arms muscles is almost completely gone. Their fingers are also shriveled up and closed shut, almost having a mummified appearance. Though the physical toll has been great, Bharati is said to not regret anything about it, even though it meant losing his arm. He was more than happy to say that he lost his arm to Shiva as a visible sacrifice of his adoration. Number 3. The Tattooed Woman. In today's society, there is a large majority of people who boast some skin ink. Many people have maybe one or two or have a sleeve of tattoos. Most of them claim that it means something special to them, or they get it with a friend or loved one. Most people don't get full body tattoos or even have more than 10, but Julia Noose isn't most people. Julia is known as the Illustrated Lady. Her body is fully covered in tattoos from head to toes, and the tattoos even cover her face. Julia was diagnosed with a rare skin disease called porphyria in her mid-30s. The rare disease causes unsightly blisters to pop up on the skin. In order to cover the blisters, Julia turned to tattoos. Before her untimely death in 2016, Julia was awarded the Guinness Book of World Records for being the most tattooed female. Her body was 95% covered in tattoos and boasted hundreds of individual designs and artwork from artists across the United States. Number 2. The world's hairiest man. Now, we all have unsightly hair on our bodies that at times we want to pluck, wax, or shave. Sometimes we even go to the extremes to have it laser removed to permanently get rid of it. However, there are some who are hairy and don't carry. Either way, Yu Zhenwan from China is one of those people. Yu was given the title of hairiest man on Earth from the Guinness Book of World Records. His body is almost completely covered in black hair, boasting 96% of his body being completely covered. Yu is said to have 41 hairs per square centimeter of skin on his body. Yu isn't just a very hairy man, he is also a professional rock singer, and sings and travels through Asia in a band. Yu's infamous hair comes from a rare hair growth condition known as hypertrichosis. This rare disease is also known as werewolf syndrome since its victims look like a werewolf from an 80s Hollywood movie. And the symptoms usually develop over time. They literally transform into werewolf-like hairiness. Yu has recently had competitions in regards to his hairiest man title though. 2 men in Mexico are claiming to have twice as much hair covering their whole bodies. Oh dear God. The werewolf epidemic from the 80 movies has begun. Number 1. The girl with X-ray vision. There isn't a person in the world that didn't dress up or pretend to play a superhero at some point in their childhood. Everyone did it. Superpowers of invisibility, super strength, and flight were always the go-to. But what if instead of in childhood, it was when you were an adult, and what if you weren't making it up or playing pretend? Natasha Demkina has claimed for years to boast the superhero-like power of X-ray vision. She says she can see through and into people's bodies and examine their organs and tissues simply by looking at them. Natasha has been on multiple news outlets and was even on the Discovery Channel. She has also participated in numerous scientific studies, and many of them question her ability. There are some of the results that suggest that it isn't X-ray vision but rather a psychic ability. They also claim to believe that she isn't actually seeing anything but is rather getting cold readings or observing the patient from the outside and stating certain diagnoses. Could she really have X-ray vision, or is she just another psychic giving a general horoscope? I don't know. Only time can answer that question, but we like to believe that there really are superhumans out there. And that was our video for today, everybody. You may not have superhuman abilities or be an exceptionally extraordinary human, but this list goes to show that it's possible. Your childhood dreams of being a superhero or a wizard or the hairiest man alive are perhaps just waiting around the corner. Honestly, anything is possible if you just believe, and these people go to show that anything truly is possible. Have a great day, everybody.